What's up, everyone? Just doing a little, like talking video here today. And so I'm just gonna talk about the new Metallica record and kind of what it means to me. I'm in a little bit of a different situation. I'm sure somebody out there has got the same boat, but so just to nitpick and give my second thoughts on the album quick before I get into the main thing here. I know we have mixed emotions when the Metallica records drop, new Metallica songs and stuff like that. It's very polarizing, and how would I want to say it? The fans are very divided on this sort of crap, and so we've got a lot of things going on with like the music and the video and stuff like that. So a new song drops by Metallica and every Metallica fan goes, holy fuck, like I did. Wow, a new Metallica song, no fucking way, I can't believe it, I'm so excited. You put the song on, you listen to it, and you go, that was the best song I ever fucking heard. And then you listen to it a couple days later, or you think about it and whatever, and you're like, oh, right, that's not my favorite thing on earth, but okay. And then you listen to it again, you're like, okay, I'm really hoping that the album comes out and I've got some, something a little better to listen to there, especially on like Hardwired and stuff like that. Death Magnetic, they were all over the place with new songs, coming up to Death Magnetic. It was like, I don't know about this shit. Then Death Magnetic came out and it was fucking wicked. But yeah, so this time we've got Lux Æterna, and that was obviously okay. It was pretty cool. Definitely lots of like old vibes, maybe a little too much at times. But to nitpick a little bit, there's a few parts that I was like okay, so the first chorus, even the second chorus, it isn't as bad noticeable, I don't think. But so at the end of the first chorus, did anybody else think that the sounded like cut into the mix? Like it sounded like ADR, you know what I mean? Like post, they were like, oh fuck, it just doesn't sound right, we need a there. It sounds like Lux Æterna, like it just comes out of nowhere. I found that was my only like issue I really had with the song. And then a lot of people are talking about the bass is almost inaudible. I mean, I don't know, Metallica's never been a fan of boosting bass in their mixes. It's just not something they fucking do. We've got a few albums where bass is there and you can feel it, and Black Album, Load and stuff like that, you do get bass that you can hear. It's all audible and stuff, but they've never been a giant like bass is the best. Even when Cliff Burton was around, they were still turning down bass, on their first album. So people are complaining about that. And Lars's drums, like, oh, Lars has never played kicks like that, and it is awful sus. I would agree, it is definitely very suspect that they're awful that in time. But you guys forget as well, and I do forget as well, that he's sitting in a studio where like he could have, maybe it's not completely replaced, it's just him playing like two kicks at a time, you know what I mean, or like a bar at a time, and they are known for recording like that, so that would make sense to me that the drums would be on point because of that. But even then, on like the the Black Album and stuff like that, you're talking about 50-60 takes sometimes just to do the individual parts, and even then the drums don't line up on a grid exactly, so I haven't looked at Lux Æterna on a grid or in my computer or anything, but I bet it would be suspiciously on time, and then the production is like similar to Hardwired. So I understand a lot of the complaints and the stuff that people have with the newer Metallica sound and stuff. The guitar sounds a little interesting with that muddy, weird sound they do. I don't know, where sometimes it's got like mid-rangey, and then the next thing it's like this weird combo of amps or something, with the diesels and but yeah, so that's my little just a couple points about the new Metallica song. Now my connection with the new Metallica album, I feel like might be a little different than a lot of people. It probably is the same as some people as well, though. But so, back in the day, my dad was the biggest Metallica fan on earth. And he got me into Metallica, he got me into metal, like at least the 80s stuff. My dad was a big 80s vibe guy, like he was into the hair and the glam and shit too. But he liked the deep cut thrash and stuff like that. So my dad, it was always just ingrained in me. We'd be going to hockey practice, lacrosse practice. Yeah, I'm Canadian, so I play hockey and lacrosse. And Metallica would always be blasting. I'd be like embarrassed because it was like, I was like 5 years old, 6 years old. I'd be embarrassed as fuck because my dad would blast it. We'd be rolling up to practice and fucking Dyer's Eve would be like just blast or black. You know what I mean? Like Battery, I remember, was a big one. He played a lot. That was just like, he just loved when it was louder than whatever. You know what I mean? And, so I was sitting there yesterday, and I don't usually get sentimental like this, but I was sitting there yesterday and I was thinking, wow, this is actually going to be the first Metallica record that comes out in my lifetime that my dad won't be around for, because my dad passed away in 2019. Yeah, and I don't usually get super sentimental about stuff like this, but I was thinking about that we always discussed the new Metallica. We always discussed what parts are good and what songs we like and hate, and how much we always bonded over that stuff. Even the last Metallica concert I went to was with my dad at the Worldwide tour in 2016 or 17, and so he's always been my sort of musical rock. I mean, he's been a big inspiration to me in terms of how I play, and sure, my dad wasn't the most musical guy on earth, but my dad was a great active listener. He always knew good parts in songs and what made a good part to a song. He just couldn't explain it musically. So I could explain it musically while he was explaining it, just like an average listener. Even though I do come from a musical background, like my grandfather was a country music musician and stuff like that, and I've got some singers on my other side of my family and stuff. But my dad was always my biggest inspiration, and the way he listened to music, he would just, I don't know, I feel like I got a lot of, not just genre, but actual playing style from my dad too, because the way he heard stuff. I don't know, he would always point out the drums go with the guitar here, and they do this weird thing. You know what I mean? You have this shitty explanation, but I would always know what he's talking about. But we've always bonded like that, and I was thinking that I'm actually feeling a little sad about a new Metallica album coming out, because I would like to experience it with my dad, and I miss him a lot every fucking day, and it's just it's gonna be weird for sure, and not going to a concert with them, and so it's gonna be bittersweet, I think, because I'm gonna, at least I feel like the album's gonna be good enough to enjoy. They're a little older and stuff like that. It's just it's definitely gonna be weird. So my emotional attachment to the album could also depend on how good it is too. I mean, it could come out and be really bad, or at least I don't like it that much. And I go, it's not a big deal that he's isn't seeing this one, but it's more just the experience of the whole thing. But I'm still excited for 72 Seasons. I'm sure there's going to be a couple good tracks on there that everyone's going to like. Oh, and the other thing I didn't mention was that the vocals, I remember my dad saying this before, that I don't know, James Hetfield doesn't, it's probably the St. Anger thing happened, it's probably just the rehab, that was one of the things my dad said. And when the new song came out, a lot of people were complaining about James's vocals, they're oh, we're hearing James get old, Ola said that, and oh, we're hearing James get really old, and we're hearing the band get old, I think. And I don't think that's only it, they are pushing 60, whatever, but I think we're hearing some post-rehab James Hetfield voice. It's not as drunk and on drugs James Hetfield and fucking bitches and stuff like that is rocking it, I feel like he's a little unsure after rehab and stuff like that. But that was a tidbit right from my dad, so thank you to him for, that's kind of been in my brain since I came out, take everything with a grain of salt kind of deal. But so anyways, my dad was my biggest inspiration, and genre, in terms of genres, and how I play, how I listen, taught me a lot about active listening. He taught me a lot about music in general and loving all genres, and I just miss him a lot, and it's gonna be very weird when this Metallica record comes out. I've got some stuff on the way for you guys, but I thought I'd just share with you that thought because everyone always thinks I'm an asshole, and I am. See ya.